Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku podcast. How is everybody doing out there? I am Brandon Alvarado, the Scarlet Fan here, and I'm so excited to be back with you guys on the Amateur Otaku live stream. Isaac, you sound tired like your usual self. How are you?
It's okay. I'm just tired as all hell.
See, I'm used to the sigh coming in when I ask you. It was very interesting how the sigh occurred before I asked you how you were doing.
It's last minute changes, all that jazz. So much
So,
to do. Well, life, you know.
yes, yes. But hey, man, we're here. We're talking anime like we love to do, and we have a hell of a show for you guys. If you guys love what we do here at the Amateur Otaku Podcast and love the live streams that we did throughout the fall season, we were rocking on Sundays, but we have moved the live stream to today, Thursday nights, 7:30. Not necessarily sharp, but still 7:30. So we have a great show for you guys today. If you love what we do here at the Amateur Otaku Podcast, make sure you click on that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell for notifications so that you do not miss any single episode of the Amateur Otaku Podcast, and you don't miss out any of the coverage that we do. We have different shows that we are going to be covering during this season. We are bringing back My Hero Academia Season 6 Core 2, because we're not going to let that show go, but we're going to recap My Hero next week. But we're also going to start 2 new shows today. We're still making decisions of what we're going to stick with, but these are 2 new shows that just debuted this past weekend, and we cannot wait to talk about them. And here is tonight's topic. First one is going to be, of course, Trigun Stampede. We're going to be talking about the first episode, No Man's Land. We're going to be talking about our favorite things of 2022 as tonight's special topic. And then we're also going to be talking about Nier Automata version 1.1a. Those that have played the game and that know about it understand why versions are important. But Nier Automata version 1.1a, the animation, and we're gonna cover episode 1, or not to be. So we have an action, awesome packed episode with a bunch of different things. We may have another one of our colleagues join later in the episode, but Isaac, old school brother, it's just you and me. How about we start this? You ready?
Yes.
So the first topic of conversation is not just any show, but it's actually a remake. But not necessarily just a remake. It's a reimagining of one of the best. Yeah, a reimagining of one of the best shows of the late 90s, early 2000s, right? And that's going to be Trigun Stampede. It is a new anime based on the phenomenal source material Trigun. We all love Trigun here at the Amateur Otaku. It's one of the best 26 simple episode shows. I mean, the original series is just 1 season long. It's a total, expands for almost a total of, I think it's 26 to 27 episodes. And it tells the story of the humanoid typhoon, Vash's Stampede, as he walks through the Badlands, through the desert, in this cowboy-driven, I don't know. It's not even cyberpunk. It's like desert punk world, full of technology, scarcity, and I don't know what it is to be human and stuff like that. It's a very nice sci-fi western show with great characters, great comedy, physical humor, and I really love this show. We covered Trigun back on our first year of the Otaku, so we'll make sure to put the link in the description for that original podcast episode so you guys can go and listen to our take and our thoughts of Trigun, the original. But Trigun Stampede is a remake and reimagining produced by Studio Orange, which gives us a new way of telling the story of Vash's Stampede. And I found it super interesting, and I can't wait to talk about it with you, my good friend Isak Awulf. In the comments, we have our good friend, the novice cinephile himself, Mike Thomas. Isaac, stop making every poll about waifus. Wow. See, I don't know what this means, but
Mike,
I guess we're
we
gonna
don't
find
have
out
any
what it
more
means.
Jor for at least a couple of months since since the season 2 is coming out this year. We don't have any Makima for the foreseeable future. I just had to do something there, and I was desperate for another topic, or should I say, yeah, no topic, another poll. So obviously, I need to do something that is in within my character.
I don't I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel right now. Um, I don't know the poll. I didn't see it. Now I kind of need to see it, Isaac, because
It's
I
not
know
that bad.
you're capable of horrible things. But I guess we'll see.
It's not that bad.
Isaac, Mike returns to the chat. God help us when Lady Nagan shows up. Ew. And
Is it a
those in particular are killer thighs. And those that understand, understand. But we're not
is it,
talking My Hero. We're
the
not talking thighs. We're not talking women. We're talking Trigun. We're talking bullets, desert, and
if
metal
you want
hands.
the polling the polling question is it a good choice to ask 2B to step on you? Yes. So
So, Arkwinder says in the chat, Isaac is the best hero, simp man.
I'm a Swede,
Mid.
okay?
Oh, and then Arkwinder says midgun. I'm assuming that's your comment on Trigun. But that's very interesting. But we're going to jump
I
into the
mean,
episode.
I
Can we
mean,
jump into the episode?
yeah. Before we do, I just need to give people some explanation of what I mean with "I'm a Swede." In the Swedish Spotify, there's a song called Read Me som en dala häst, which is roughly translated to "Ride Me Like a Dala Horse." It's
Whoa.
about intercourse and alcohol from an artist called Miss Naughty. Yes, yes. I'm not making those things up.
That's a lot of information. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about this. That's a lot of information.
yeah.
Wow, that's that's very
It
interesting.
is. I
That
just
is.
wanted to explain what I mean by I'm a Swede. Give me a break.
Oh boy, I don't know how I. Okay, so we're gonna talk about. I'm trying to start this conversation about Trigun, and for some reason we're still talking about thighs, and this is not a thigh-heavy episode. Thanks, Mike. Thanks. We're off to a great start. Yes, Darkwinder, it is an anime show. Yes, I would like to talk about anime, not thighs, until it's applicable, which will be the later portion of the episode. So let's jump into Trigun Stampede. It is based on the manga by Yasuhiro Naito.
Uh, would,
Um,
wouldn't you call this inspired by the manga, though?
well, I mean, all the characters are created by, it's like based on real events. They're taking direct inspiration from them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
but
based,
inspiration
but
is a difference than based because
no, it's the
when you.
same. It's the same concept. It's
Yeah,
the same
but what am I.
concept because
But
here's the characters
let,
don't feel
let me.
different.
No, no, no. But let me say what I mean. If you have read the Treasure Island in comparison, and you watch the Treasure Planet, the character does feel like it is the book counterpart, but it isn't a replica of the story per se because of the whole new settings, all that jazz. That's what I mean when it comes to inspired. There is the world feels like it is, but it has changed up the story so it feels like another interpretation of it of the world. It's doing their own thing.
Well, I mean, I could still say. I feel that you can still say based for the main reason that all the elements of the actual Trigun are there, all of them, and they're not changing the character's essence in the show. They're changing how they tell the story, but all the bare bones stuff is there. Now, if they were telling a completely different story than in the manga, and they were completely changing the characters, then that would not be based on. That would be like very loosely based. I think this still counts for based because Meryl still feels like Meryl from the original Trigun. Vash still feels like the original Vash. Knives, Rem, like all these characters still feel, and that's and I think that's the
And we're
first.
getting Johnny back as Wash, which is just amazing.
So as we go into No Man's Land, which is the premiere, the first episode of Trigun Stampede, I do want to also say that I they really cleaned up the animation. It looks smooth. It pops. I think when they showed the first short, it still felt stiff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The animation felt stiff, and like that's why I think my first impression was like, oh no, CG is gonna feel kind of daunting or stiff or
Isn't this
whatever.
from the same people that made Beastars?
Yes, which Beastars in and of itself has a sense of drag to it as well. You know what I mean? Like Beastars does have that sense of dragginess to the animation, which is on purpose and makes sense based on the animal characteristics and and the way the bodies are built. But it has a different filter, a different feel, and it feels a lot more cartoony than I thought it was going to feel. You know how even when you watch like a Pixar film or you watch, it feels computer generated, but it doesn't really feel like an animated film. Does that make sense?
I have barely watched any Pixar films, so I can't speak on
No,
that
but like,
regard.
okay, so you know when you watch a CG movie, or you're playing a video game, or perfect. You know when you play Mario, like the new Mario games on Nintendo,
Yeah.
they feel like a completely different Mario than when you go play Super Mario World in Super Nintendo. Not just because it's meant to be different, it's because the animation makes it feel different, makes it feel like it was a complete different and style and design and and art direction. This feels like I'm watching a different colored anime. It doesn't feel like a computer generated anime. Does that make sense? Like the way they design the eyes, the way they design the facial features, how smooth everything feels, and how all the movements feel fluid. It doesn't feel like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My biggest issue is, and I'm not saying that this looks bad, but I could with some characters looks, I couldn't help but think of X arms, and it took the it took the what's it called, the enjoyment of the show a little bit, but at the same time, at first, but now I just no, it's not the X arm. Just take that out of your head.
Yeah, yeah. My
Do you
biggest,
even
my
know?
big,
Do you even know what X arm is?
I don't, but I would assume that you're directly referring to Vash's mechanical arm.
There's a show called X arm based on a manga that is.
No, no, but the look.
I show you the trailer later.
No, no, no. But what I mean is, what made you think about X Arm was the way they designed Vash's mechanical arm. Is what I mean.
No, no.
Then what made you think about that?
Yeah, you can see you see the trailers and then
No,
do
but
that
just
after.
just tell us. Maybe there's a listener out there that knows what you're talking about.
Character designs.
Oh, okay. In general.
Yeah,
Okay.
I might as
Okay.
well show a picture of it.
Okay. So now, so you have an beyond that particular force reference, so to speak, in the animation to Xrd. Did you feel um, any particular concerns about the show whatsoever? Like,
No,
what were your initial thoughts? What were your thoughts of Stampede?
I did like it. It was just at first it reminds me of X Arms, in
Well,
which you can
that
see a screenshot from here on the screen.
what? But then again, that's how Vash looks in Trigun, though. The character
Yeah,
designs. So
yeah, but did you see something specific with this show? It's how they rendered a 3D character, and also yes, the brother to the left is 2D, while the other one is 3D. So it makes no fucking sense.
okay, yeah, I didn't know this was an angry concern about the show, but
I show you
but
the trailer later. It's the room of animus.
now I did want to ask overall, what were your thoughts on No Man's Land? Oh wait, yes, she was able to make it. Jamie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm glad you were able to make it. Awesome. Welcome to the live stream. So you came just in time. We kind of after a long hiatus of conversation talking about thighs for some reason, out of
Oh.
nowhere, we finally made it to Trigon.
As I spoke to Mike, if since we are not going to see Yor for a couple of months, we're not seeing my Akima for the foreseeable future, I have to go to something else that fits my persona as a pull. So I might as well ask people if it's a good choice to ask 2B to step on them. It just makes sense.
Wow. Wow. Why does everything have to finish and start with stepping? Isaac,
I mean,
do you know
I
nothing
mean,
else?
you can. It's a good way to step up some games, but
Wow. So we're talking about Trigun Stampede, No Man's Land, the first episode. Now we talked a little bit about the animation. Isaac was reminded by to X Arm, which apparently is a horrible thing, but he didn't have a lot of issues. I was very surprised with how fluid the animation felt and how clean and how precise with the character expressions it was. And I was pleasantly surprised by it because most of the times where you see CG animation, especially in in most animated films like Pixar, DreamWorks, and stuff like that, everything feels like a computer film. This felt more closer to its anime inspiration than a computer film to me, especially with the use of colors and filters and stuff like that. Even though, of course, there are certain shades and stuff like that you can't really do in CG because of the lighting and stuff like that. But how was your take before we jump into the episode per se? Changes that they made from the original and stuff like that. What were your thoughts, animation wise, for Trigun Stampede?
I thought the animation looked great, to be honest with you. And I know that like a lot of people had issue with like the design of Vash, and I think yeah, just mainly Vash. And I don't know if it changed between then and now, but I actually think like they did a great job of adapting the original design and kind of modernizing it a little bit. I
Yeah,
was really impressed with that
yeah,
element. I was at first very concerned with like the start of the episode was very spacey, and we have like the diagonal haircuts, and I was like, oh god,
yes,
no.
yes.
but but when we come back to
And
present
out of
day, I
nowhere,
guess.
Chris Pratt shows up and it's waking up Jennifer Lawrence. Um,
But when we come back to present day, thankfully, the designs we see the designs that are more similar to the promotional material that we've been seeing. So that was great.
right, right.
And then as far as like just how the animation looked and its fluidity, I thought they did a really great job. And this is like one of the, in my opinion, one of the better looking like 3D, like fully CG, like 3D animes that we have gotten thus far, and that's kind of a big hurdle to have gotten over, considering that
Yes.
there are a lot of ways that it could have gone wrong. So first step, I think they did a good job.
I have to agree with you because I still see from time to time, like, that not from time to time, but like I still am not entirely convinced with like Dragon Ball Z superhero. Like it
Mm,
doesn't look bad, but I'm just not convinced. You know what I
interesting.
mean? So
Yeah, I
so
can see
like
that.
so this one did convince me. Did you watch the original Trigun?
I did actually. I'm
Cool.
on like the last couple episodes, so I haven't completely finished it, but I did watch most of the original Trigun before watching this.
Okay, so spoilers to anybody watching the show. If you have not seen the original Trigun, we will be spoiling stuff from the original Trigun. Of course, if you hear me start saying something that you're not sure about, let me know, Jamie, because I do not want to spoil it to you. I'll spoil it to everybody, but not to you, because I know you're
Okay.
finishing the series.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but we will be talking spoilers because one of the biggest things that it's unavoidable with Trigun Stampede is we're going to be going back to the original and see the differences and to see what works and what's not. But overall, I mean, because I think we can all agree that as a pilot goes, this is very this it there's a lot more difference than similarities with the original one,
Hmm.
but mainly, but not because the pilot is different entirely, because it's technically the same. They just change certain characters, and that changes the way the story develops, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to ask you a question, Jamie. The whole space thing, did it surprise you because it's the first time you've seen it?
Yeah, it definitely caught me off guard, and at first I was
Okay.
like, "Did I click the right anime? What's going on?"
Okay. Okay.
So
So,
yeah, I was caught off guard by it.
okay. So I'm gonna say, finish the anime,
Okay.
finish Trigun, finish Trigun. So, are you guys ready to just jump into the episode? Isaac, you have anything else on the animation?
Just to point out, just because I thought about X Arms for a second doesn't mean it's bad. I got over it and it looks better. Just on the fact that it's competently animated alone.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you, Isaac. We know you hate it, but
X Arm is the room of anime, so no, I don't hate it, and no, I actually do enjoy this pilot.
yeah, this pilot was very, very good. I was not expecting it to enjoy it as much as I did. Now, one of the more interesting things that I found was just what Jamie just said. The whole thing about the show starting with the space portion was very interesting because I was not expect you don't expect them to start with that, especially with what that means to the original Trigon. And that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not going to spoil anything because of what
You
that
mean
means.
the Clark Kal-El scene?
Correct.
Yeah, pretty
Correct.
much.
Right. Exactly. Now, um, there's a lot that happens there before the events of what we see. When we learn more about Vash and knives, because even though I find it interesting they calling him Nye, and that just evolves to Million Knives, which is beautiful. So we never get a chance to see the fall of humanity from the space traveling era. We never saw that before in the original Trigun. So I like the fact that they're taking a lot of things that are known as reveals in the original anime, and they're putting them front and center in the pilot, which I find very interesting. Not only do they put that in the pilot, they literally set up the villain in Million Knives in the pilot, which I don't think the original anime did that. Like you find out about Vash's brother like almost 10 episodes in. And in being that it's a 26 to 27 episode series, that's halfway, if not more. So I find it very interesting that it's like Studio Orange make the decision of, we know what everyone loves or everyone knows about Trigun. Let's take all those common things that everybody knows and let's show them off now, so then we can go off to the races and do whatever we want. Does that make sense? So I feel like they've given themselves this freedom to now do whatever the hell they want with the show. And I was pleasantly surprised with that direction, because now, even though I know the original Trigun, and even though I know that this is not an exact replica adaptation like the original anime was, now I'm excited because I don't know what's going to happen next. What were your thoughts, Jamie? Since you're experiencing Trigun like now for the first time, when you found out that we already know who Knives is from the get go, what was your reaction to that?
Um, I mean, it's definitely like you were saying, like they didn't focus so much on Vash's brother, or really like explore that space. At least in the 97 anime, maybe in other Trigun properties, but to see him like put on the forefront, it's definitely like, for one thing, I know he's going to make a much bigger impact, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. But I'm
Yes.
also looking forward to seeing in what way does Knives and how I'm looking forward to seeing like what Knives and Vash's relationship is, or at least how it's developed to become what it is. Um, just because it seems like there is a lot of tension there, especially with the start of this, like remake or like reimagining of this series. So I'm curious to see in what ways he's going to affect Vash's journey for sure.
Yeah. How about you, Isaac?
I think Game is pretty much on point with this episode.
Okay. So, but did you like the changes that they made about presenting all that information up front?
Well, it's clear that they want to be a new story. For heck's sake, where's Millie, for example?
Yeah.
Uh,
That was the biggest one for me. Like, I was not
and she's a
expecting Millie to not be there.
so she's
Yeah.
a reporter and not someone that works into the what
Insurance
was it?
company.
Insurance company.
Yeah.
She's essentially Lois Lane now.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the fact that Millie Thompson and Meryl Streep from the original Trigun were insurance agents because they were following Vash because Vash was so much of a liability. That is like the funniest take. It's like that guy. What's that insurance that has commercials with Mr. Mayhem?
Oh, is that? It's not Allstate, is
Is
it?
that State Farm? No.
No, and maybe it is Allstate. Yeah, it might be Allstate.
Yeah, like they have the In Good Hands guy and they got Mr. Mayhem. I find it funny. Like Vash is doing those episodes, Vash is doing all those commercials. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they're making all those. They're making very interesting changes. But I like how, because Millie, if you see Millie in reality,
Also,
go
doesn't
go.
this isn't hasn't they done made her younger also? Mhm.
No, Meryl's always been 20 something. Meryl's always
Yeah,
been
I
20
looked it
something.
up actually because I was like, "Oh, is that important before?" Because I didn't really make a note of
Yeah.
it. But in the original anime, it starts with Meryl celebrating her like 23rd birthday or something, and then she meets Vash. And
Yeah,
then in this one, you see on a paper that it also says she's 23 in the
right.
remake.
Okay,
Yeah.
because she comes off as like 18 here in comparison.
Yeah, I thought she was much younger than 23 when I first saw her. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Yeah. And also because of the type of animation, she looks chibier, like a chibi. She looks a
Yeah.
lot younger because of the design too. They made her shorter and a little bit wider, and just her expressions. She has a lot of she kind of has a lot of Millie's playful like qualities also. Because Meryl's always been like not stuck up, but always been the more serious one, no matter what.
Yeah.
But a lot of the designs when she like gets all like upset and stuff like that remind me a lot of Millie. Which again, it's a very interesting omission, right? There's no Millie. And when you think about it, I'm upset because I was expecting her to be there, but I'm not upset because when I think about Millie in the original Trigun anime, she doesn't really have that huge of a role. Like she's just there to be a foil for Meryl more than anything.
Yeah.
And like and there's not really a like. In what episode are you right now?
I think 23.
Okay. So the big thing with Millie is that she's just there to create dynamic between between Meryl and Millie, but also between Wolfwood, Millie and Meryl and Vash, right? She's a good addition to that quadruple threat of characters. But she really doesn't have a lot of interestingness that she brings to the table apart from being like somewhat of a cute character. Right?
Yeah.
So I found it very interesting and daring the introduction of this new character called Roberto De Niro. He's called Robert De Niro. I just looked up his whole name. This is hilarious because he kind of looks like Robert De Niro. But I like how this particular character is kind of this old man reporter that has been in no man's land, which, by the way, is the name of the planet, which I don't think we were ever given the name of a planet before.
No, yeah, I never heard that before.
So I like the sense of locale, and place. So, but like he's been doing this for a while. He's the one that's been beaten by this world, by crime, by all the tragedies that have occurred. And like he's trying to kind of show Meryl the ropes because he has no choice. But I like how he's that wise old fox that kind of gives her the tips of survival. And I kind of like that dynamic. I like the combination of old reporter with new reporter. And then, of course, the ultimate news item, which is Vash. So I kind of like that change in dynamic. And I can't wait to see how it develops and grows. Because, for example, from the get-go, we see him as this drunk, stupid person. But then you can see the experience right away when he's talking to those officers. And whenever the duel starts, and he literally is generally trying to keep Meryl safe.
Yeah. I definitely I wasn't too sad that Millie wasn't going to be in the remake, only because like you said, she doesn't really make the biggest impact on the plot or other characters. And even though I like Millie, I can see why they decided not to bring her back, at least not for however many episodes, if that's supposed to be a reveal.
Right.
But I do like Roberto. I do like his contribution, and the fact that he plays a much more meaningful role than Millie would have by acting kind of as a mentor and kind of the one to keep his head on his shoulders and kind of stay cool when things are going down. And Meryl has, like you were saying, adopted some of Millie's character traits and is a little bit more energetic, maybe a little bit more sporadic, and kind of really embodying that young, like, rookie attitude.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Robert De Niro, Isaac?
Stereotypical drunken veteran, but he fits within the context and tone of the story.
True. I like the addition of him, and I also do like the idea of, because you know that when we first meet Vash, one of the things that we find out is that nobody knows who he is, but everybody fears the idea of the humanoid typhoon, right? Mm-hmm. I found it very interesting that the first town that we go in the very first episode is a town that knows him and knows him not to be a typhoon. I found that to be a very another interesting twist, because it's not till we see him traveling throughout the land with Millie and Meryl in the original series that his deeds start showing to people. He doesn't, like, you don't really meet people that know him to be a savior or a hero.
Right.
Like, that takes a while. So it makes you think, like, and it kind of throws hints at you, like, oh no, he saved us a couple of years ago. But at the same time, well, how long ago was that? Because Vash looks young.
Right.
Which again is another particular twist of Trigun, which those that have watched the original anime know what we're talking about. But it's a very interesting twist to that introduction of that character, and I don't know. It makes it a lot more interesting. What I wasn't expecting the show to do is to make me a lot more interested into Trigun than what I already was, and I think that's why I'm excited to talk about it. Because it left me with a lot of good, cool questions, as opposed to me just wondering why it had to be done. And also, at least they won the first thing. I wasn't bothered by the animation at all, because if I was bothered by the animation, I wouldn't watch it. So they won me over on that. They've winning me over everywhere. Okay, I'm an easy date. I know. Now, Isaac, do you have anything else on this episode?
Nothing more than it is a solid start.
Yes. How about you, Jamie? Anything else on Trigun Stampede that you want to throw out there?
No, yeah, I agree with Isaac. I think it was a really good place to start the series, and I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do with, like, knives and Vash, and balancing that equation, and Meryl learning more about Vash as they go. I'm curious to see what he's already done that we will learn about with Meryl and Roberto.
Yes. And I also want to know is, does Roberto know Vash? Because he says he doesn't know him. But he's been reported for so long. Does he or does he not know Vash? Or maybe he knows him and he doesn't know. Because
That'll
that's
be
an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that did startle me a little bit, that I kind of didn't like, but it did startle me a little bit. That's the only gripe I have. That from the moment we meet Vash, we know he has a mechanical arm. That's the only thing that kind of threw me off. Because that was like one of the coolest reveals in like the third episode of the original one. Right? Because we never knew that he had a mechanical arm until he reveals the machine gun that he has behind it.
I mean, at the same to some extent, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, this is when did the original came out?
97, I think it was.
Yeah, 97.
Yeah, and I know it's not verbatim the same thing, but for example, look at I can't recall exactly what interview it was, but have you guys played a remake of the first part of Final Fantasy VII remake?
Yeah, I'm actually playing that right now.
Yeah.
I played the full game though, so there's no spoilers. I'm good.
Yeah.
The reason I say that they changed up the approach of Sephiroth in that game because in the original they wanted to build him up like Yaws, which was the inspiration for him as a villain. But now, since people knew Sephiroth, they felt that it wouldn't work in a remake. And I could see them here that people know that he has his mechanical arms. We don't need to build that up, sort of deal. That's what I mean by verbatim. It's not the same thing, but I know you get what I mean.
Yeah, and I can kind of see. I think there have been other forms of media that have kind of done, like, if they're doing a remake or like a reinterpretation of a previous property. I feel like within the past few years, when they do that, anything that was like a reveal, but it happened early on, like, usually they'll just do it at the beginning because they already know, like, most people who have seen this before, they know what's going to happen, so might as well just put it out there so that way they're not, like, trying to hype themselves up for the same thing and instead can look forward to, like, what we have to reveal instead. So I'm not completely surprised by it. It didn't bother me either. I thought it was interesting, and, I guess I'm more curious to see, like, what the story is behind it in this show or this iteration.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Part of me wants like to get like a part of me wants to get like a nod to Millie in some way,
Mhm.
right? Maybe she does something in one of the towns that they visit, right? And part of me wants him to get the arm with the machine gun as a power up throughout. Like if they do
Mm.
that, I'm okay with that. If not, that will always be a gripe. That's personal. I know. I'll take the hit. If they keep if they keep me interested with all the different changes that they had, I do love that it's still playful Vash. I love that he
Yeah.
still feels like Vash. I love that all the characters still feel like the original feel. You know what I mean? Because I've always been a defender of a character's essence, right? Like if you keep a character's essence intact, you can take that character and start a brand new series with him, and we're still gonna enjoy it because the character's still the same, or at least
Mhm.
what makes that character work is still there. So I'm really happy that all that's happening, and I'm excited for more Trigun.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we've talked Trigun Stampede episode 1, No Man's Land. If you guys love our coverage of Trigun Stampede and want us to keep covering it, let us know in the comments below, and we'll give you more Trigun because I'm definitely going to keep watching it, and hopefully you guys keep enjoying it as well at home. We're going to go to our next topic. If you have not watched Nier Automata version 1.a episode 1, don't worry. We're not going to jump into that right now. We're going to go to our next topic of our favorite things of 2022. But if this is where you step off, thank you for joining us on the Amateur Otaku podcast, and we will see you on the next episode. Have it awesome. Now, guys, it's a brand new year. This is not the first podcast or episode of the year, but we had a lot of catching up to do. But we have officially caught up with every single show that we've been covering last year. So yay! Yay to the team! Great job. So I think now it's time to celebrate the things that we've watched in anime and manga in 2022. So I figure maybe we have like 2 or 3 peaks each, or at least one if it's just one thing. But we definitely have favorites. I've mentioned a lot of favorites here. But Isaac, I know you have favorite things. I know one of them you've been telling me every other day that I need to watch it, but I still haven't. But I don't know if that's going to be on your list. But what is one of your favorite things of what is one of your favorite things of I don't know what to do with my life and all the banners. I'm messing up everything right now. Technical difficulties because I'm an idiot. Isaac, what were your favorite things or some of the favorite things of 2022 for you?
Well, Bleach, Spy X Family, and I will do say to some extent Demon Slayer. Chainsaw Man is up there, but well, Demon Slayer is where my has a character where my avatar is based upon.
Oh, so you felt obligated?
Yeah, kind of obligated. Bleach
The
is
power of
well
Tengen consumes you.
fleshy, but and Spike's family, well, obligatory Jor comment here, and when it comes to Bleach, I scream. I was. I was like the Dragon Ball fan when Son Goku going Super Saiyan when a specific moment happened. So we all know how I feel about the show then.
So is that your order? Like your top three things are going to be in that order: Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War, Spy X Family, and then Demon Slayer,
Yeah,
Entertainment District arc.
yeah, with close part of Chainsaw Man. Yeah,
Oh,
I
so we
love
have honorable mentions too.
yeah,
Nice.
I
So
love it has
we should do lists more often, so you can just keep listing things.
a lot of it. If if we do it specifically on the shows, I would say it's those three. Chainsaw Man has a close honorable mention as the third third because well, I do love me some redheads, but
Wow.
yeah, sorry, game, I do apologize.
Oh, you're good.
I don't know.
You're not apologizing. Shit.
I don't know how she reacted to that comment, but to you, no, I don't apologize to. Yeah, but
Nice.
and when it comes to movies, well, Belle was amazing. I know it
Mm.
came out 2021 for other countries, but it came out in 2022 here in Sweden. I do love the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, and
Nice.
while I continue having that as a profile pick pretty much all that Yuta pretty much all the time because I love that character. And
Mhm.
well, One Piece was fucking amazing.
As in One Piece Red.
Yes,
Okay.
you need to watch that also, but prioritize Bell.
So I wasn't expecting to walk out with homework, but I
I
appreciate
will always give you homework.
but I appreciate you sharing top threes. That's awesome. So you have
Mention that.
He
That
was
this
just
is
about
not.
to mention that one. That was the
yes.
next one on the list.
It was morbing time. Arkwinder says
Yeah.
in the chat, "How could you guys forget the artistic masterpiece that is Morbius?"
Arkwinder, this is not the Shatter After. I do agree that he should watch Morbius and write a onto a 50,000 letters article of why Morbius is the best movie of
Wow,
all time. But that's a story for another day.
that's so bad.
Yeah, I
Jamie,
know, but that's why you need to do it.
of the world of anime and manga, I gotta keep the show going, Isaac.
I know.
In the world of anime and manga, Jamie, what were your favorite things in 2022?
Um, it's gonna be hard for me to put them in order in terms of like my top things, but I definitely have to put Kakegurui Twin out there. Kakegurui is a
Ooh,
guilty pleasure, and then I saw that they were
nice,
doing Twin, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to watch it now. So,
nice. I
I was
started
glad they did it.
Kageguri. It's a very interesting show.
It is very interesting, but I'm like, it's if anybody walked into the room while you were in the middle of an episode, it would just be
Yeah.
so bad. But it's
It's
such a
just like
fun
Food
show.
Wars. It's just like Food
Yeah,
Wars. Same
I
effect.
almost feel like it's worse than Food Wars because it's
Yes.
like they know what's happening and they're like, and I'm completely fine with it. This is what I intended to happen. But yeah, Kakegurui Twin was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to see the girls back at it again. Um I also really enjoyed JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, even though I do not like the way that Netflix released all the parts. But I'm glad we got to see more of Jolene and got to see her story. That was really cool.
Nice.
Hopefully, we'll get more female JoJos in the future. Please, Araki Sensei. And I also really liked Ranking of Kings. Ranking of Kings was a really, really fantastic anime, and I can't wait to see what they do with it in this coming year.
Its Ranking of Kings has been in almost every anime channel that I've seen as one of the top things ever. I think I have to watch this.
You haven't? Oh,
I have
yes,
not.
yes. You
I'm
need
not
to
gonna lie to
watch
you.
it.
I have not. I have
You
not.
need to watch Ranking of Kings. It is very good. It is very good. And
Sweet.
then I also have to put Mob Psycho 100 part 3 on, or I guess season 3 on there, of course. Love Mob. And Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan was great. And I'll put Cyberpunk Edge Runners on there as well. Even though I don't
I
think
will
it's
allow
good.
it. I
I
will
don't think it's
allow
as
it.
good as everybody hypes it up to be, but I still thought it was fun. I still thought it was fun, so I'll put it on
Was
there.
it better than the game?
No.
Okay.
I actually was one of the a few people that really liked the game when it came out. I
Okay.
didn't encounter like, well, I definitely saw bugs, but not any that like broke my game. So I was like,
Okay.
okay, this is
Oh, so
fine.
you were one of the lucky ones. Fair enough.
I was surprised. My computer sounded like it was about to take off, but surprisingly, no bugs, nothing that broke my game. So I had a lot of fun with it. I definitely think that I was glad to see that like it pushed more people to go back and try the game, especially now that they've patched a lot of those bugs. So I'm glad to see Cyberpunk is getting a second chance, and they're supposed to be doing like another Cyberpunk project in the future. So hopefully people will be on board for that one too.
I still got to watch Edge Runners. Those kind of sci-fi driven shows really interest me. So I
Hmm.
definitely got to watch Edge Runners, or we could probably cover it here on the show. If you guys want us to
Yeah.
cover Cyberpunk, let us know. Let us know. Let us know. We got people hyped. Arkwinder says in the chat, just realized that Kira Buckland had Joylene last year and Tubi this year. Pretty good 2 years for her.
Oh damn.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Kira Buckland.
Awesome.
Yeah, Kira Buckland is the English voice of 2B in the game. So hopefully they reused, but then again, they used the English voice cast of the games for the P5 adaptation. So I don't see how they wouldn't use the.
Especially with Square Enix being the
And
same co-production company with A1 Pictures. There's no reason why they shouldn't use the same actors. I mean, if there was a scheduling conflict, I would understand. But if there's no scheduling conflict, there's no reason why you wouldn't go for the same actors.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And she's great, so why not?
the only one I wonder if, but then again, he has worked with them before on another stuff with another contract is Kyle McCurdy. I don't know how the status between Crunchyroll and he is after the whole Mob Psycho dilemma.
Yeah.
He is playing in he's playing one of the main characters in Nier Automata, and who knows? But hopefully they managed to get him back too. He's 9S also in that show in that game.
Nice. Nice. So, my favorite things were sandwiches. I'm kidding.
Heck yeah, sandwiches.
Nani? My favorite things in 2022. I'm still loving Psalm 100. I'm going to talk about that manga whenever I have a chance. No, I'm not numbering anything. Get off my back, people. I'm enjoying Psalm 100. I loved discovering the madness that is Rooster Fighter. These are books. I'm talking books. And I am pleasantly surprised that I am loving the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. I hadn't finished part 2 of season 1 when it came out. I just finished it probably a month ago. And after I finished it, I can't believe I didn't finish it sooner, because one of my issues with Jujutsu Kaisen, which is a very apparent in Core 1, is that it feels very derivative from everything that it influenced it, you know? And like it wears a lot of its inspirations on its sleeves in terms of anime. So I kept feeling and I kept thinking of other animes and other properties as opposed to just trying to enjoy this one, right? But I love the fact that in Core 2, it's where the show starts putting their own foot on the ground and create their own thing. And so when Core 2 ended, I love where it ended, and then I picked up the manga and started reading, and now I'm 100% caught up with the book.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, like I just devoured it. And right now, what they're doing right now is super creative. Like Gige Akutami continues to surprise me with all the decisions that they make. I'm really loving the the villain. I'm enjoying what they're doing with the Yuji Itadori character. There's something about Utah that makes no sense whatsoever, but I do love what they're doing with him as a character as well. So I'm enjoying that quite a bit. In terms of anime, also, I'm halfway caught up with Sakamoto Days, which is another phenomenal manga. If you like comedies and action, you got to read Sakamoto Days. Now, anime-wise, this I will say in order. I'm going to go from 5 to 1. That's what I'm going to do. 5 is definitely going to be... I forgot what I'm doing with my life. Okay. 5 is definitely going to be Spy Family.
Oh, okay.
Because it makes the list. Great surprise. I kind of want to see them venture out into a filler-free world, kind of. Because it did feel a little fillerish in the middle and beginning of Core 2. But I do love what's there. I just want to see more of it. Because Core 1 was exceptionally good. And I think the way Core 2 ends is very fun. So I want to see more of that. So I definitely love Spy Family. Yeah. I have to say the number 4 is definitely going to be Chainsaw Man. And also reading the book as well. I'm caught up with the manga. I've loved Chainsaw Man manga, and right now they're doing a lot of interesting things with Denji. But the anime was a revelation. Like it's everything that Mappa has been doing, and how with so many different shows that they've been doing, how they've been making them so very different and so their own, honoring the mangaka's intent. Like Chainsaw Man is the epitome of adaptations. And all fronts with a killer intro that I keep listening whenever I have a chance.
Yeah,
I think I've listened to that. I'm a little tired of it now, but I can still go back and listen to it. And the idea of outros with every different episode was being super amazing. So Chainsaw Man is my number 3. My number 2 is going to be Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War. Because apart from the fact that they had the comeback of the decade of any show, actually it's tied between Bleach and Attack on Titan Part 2 of the final season. Because Attack on Titan has to be up there. So it's definitely there. And I loved everything doing with Bleach. I love the animation. I love the style. I love how they were able to bring back this show with all the heart and feel of the original into a new world, and the animation never felt that vibrant. And it's not flashy like UFO Table's animation in Demon Slayer, but it still feels like something new and fresh and rough and powerful. So I'm enjoying everything about that. I can't wait for Core 2 of the 1,000-Year Blood War in July. Part 2, which is tied for the 2 spot, right? Part 2 of the final season of Attack on Titan. I'm a huge Attack on Titan fan, and I totally love Part 2. And I love the fact that Mappa kept taking their time with the show to the point that they had to do Part 3 of the final season. So that was amazing. Arkwinder says in the chat, reading through Bleach right now, I really have been missing out, haven't I? Yes. I actually got so excited. I'm glad that you mentioned that, Arkwinder, because Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War was so good and surprising that I said, I need to get caught up with the book. And I got caught up with the entirety of the manga of Bleach up to the point of the show while the season was going. So by the time we got to episode 6 or 7 of the current core of Bleach, I was already caught up with the manga. So I understood everything. And that made the payoff of the show a lot bigger. Because I knew I was going and all the connections. So it was pretty awesome. And my number 1, Attack on Titan. Oh, love it. And number 1 is my Dress Up Darling. That is my anime of 2022. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I never imagined an anime show with cosplay in its center would be a such an endearing tale of understanding, love, and celebrating what you love and that being okay. Celebrating who you are and that being okay. Celebrating who you want to be and that being okay. And literally these two people that felt that if they allowed the world to limit them because they like different things, they wouldn't feel free, but they choose to rise above that and just do what they love. In the case of Goro is doing the Hina dolls and doing the dresses for the main character, which I forgot her name because I haven't watched the show in a while. And her cosplaying as her favorite characters and celebrating how she loves erotic anime and games. But yeah, like My Dress Up Darling, it's to me, it just won me over so hard that I can still say it's my number one anime of the year.
See, now that's an anime that I've actually heard a lot about just hanging out with you guys on this podcast. So I have to add it to my list because I haven't seen it yet.
Yes, Marin. Yes. Thank you, Arkwinder. Thank you, Arkwinder, for reminding me. But yeah, you should definitely watch it. I mean, it's not that long. I think it's one of those shows that even though it was, Arkwinder says, also, she sounds like a Weeb Stream girlfriend. Oh my God.
I mean, he's not wrong.
You're not wrong. Step on Isaac. But yeah, like definitely you should check it out. I mean, the best thing about that show is that it's the right amount of edgy, funny, and sincere. You know what I mean? Because they're if you're a fan of something, whatever it is, you can instantly connect with these characters, and you can instantly like get into their heads and get a feel of what their journey is and what brings them together. Because we all have friends, right, that come from entirely different walks of life, but for some reason we're the best of friends because we both like one thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it kind of highlights that kind of connection. But not only just from their side, it also brings in the idea of community of people that are brought together by this kind of thing, which is, I don't know. It's just a great show. Part of me, because the first season was just so great and the way it ended for me was so great, I'm somewhat disappointed that they are going to do a new season. But at the same time, as long as the main themes are still there, I'm good with it. So, but yes, Jamie, you should definitely watch Dress Up Darling. It's great. It's really
Yeah,
great.
I'm going to add to the list right now.
The list just gets longer and longer.
It does.
And
It truly does.
You want me to give you a...
No. I'll don't do that to Jamie, bro. Just don't give her a list.
I'm struggling with the things I have right now.
So, anything else, guys? Should we wrap this topic up? Did you guys have anything else of your best thing of 2022 that you came up with? Or are we done?
I think that's pretty much it. I did also enjoy Demon Slayer, Spy Family, Chainsaw Man. I just didn't put them on my list because they had already got some love, so. But I did enjoy them.
Fair. Is there anything... Well, I think I have to say this. Is there anything that you felt that you missed out because of lack of time? Or something that you discovered... Or something that you discovered this year... Even if it didn't come out this year, something that you discovered this year that you were like, holy crap, I'm glad I watched it.
You know what? I actually did not have the chance to watch Blue Lock before, and I'm actually going to start it after we get off tonight. So
I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about that.
me too. So
Yes.
I don't know if my expectations are wildly out of control now.
Are you a
but
haiku fan?
I do like haiku, yeah.
Okay. Because I know it's kind of like, it's grabbing that crowd. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Okay. Isaac, anything that you missed out or anything that you discovered this year, even though is older?
I mean,
And
yet, I
I
mean,
thought you were writing the
Bell,
list, so I wasn't sure.
uh, that too. The, that depends on how you look at it. Bell came out 1 year later than other countries. If we're here to
Mhm.
Sweden, so
Okay.
could that count as something?
Sure, I guess so. Why not?
I like what Arkwinder says here. Arkwinder says in the chat, to the stuff I discovered in 2022, having missed out on the OG hype for Naruto, I have to say Naruto is pretty goat a lot of the time. Yes. So you discovered Naruto this year. Trust me, I discovered it. I think I discovered Naruto where Shippuden was around the time Shippuden was starting the fourth Great Ninja War. So so I get it. I get it. I missed out a lot of hype, so I get it. The one thing that I'm happy that it wasn't that much as discovered, but I'm glad that I gave myself time to watch it, is The Ancient Magus Bride.
Mm.
That is a show that always piqued my interest because it looked
God,
weird.
I love that show.
And it looked weird, but I never expected it to be what it is. It's about two beings, one that doesn't know how to value life because of his lack of somewhat humanity, and this other person that has nothing to live for, finding a reason to live. And one of them is a demon-like figure, and the other one is just this shy little girl, 14. So it's like it's a very interesting take on the Beauty of the Beast concept, but it's a lot more broad and super endearing. And literally is, especially that first season, is all about finding reasons to value life. And it's just so interesting. It's so interesting, so cute, and I'm glad that I finally got a chance to check it out.
Hmm. Okay. I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I think and then I think it has like two more seasons after that, but they're built like each season is built like a book. So like they're not necessarily all connected, but at the same time they're not disconnected either. Like you can definitely see each season out of order, because I do feel they're all like subtitled. Does that make sense? Like you have the
Mm.
ancient like it feels like a part two as opposed to just being a continuation of the original. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, but they're pretty fun, and I think they're on Crunchyroll, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So, so guys, there it is, folks. Those are our favorite things of 2022 in the world of anime and manga, and things that we discovered or enjoyed in 2022 or couldn't, and we're looking forward to do. So let us know, just like Arkwinter did in the chat. Let us know what were your favorite things of 2022, and what are you looking forward in 2023. But now we're going to jump into the last topic of the day. We talked about we told you that we're going to do two different anime coverages. We're going to do Trigun Stampede, and now we're going to jump into the second one. And I think this is very particular because all three of us are not just anime viewers and otakus. All three of us are gamers. So this particular topic of conversation is very interesting because we're going to talk about a video game adaptation.
Yeah.
And similar to how we got the video game adaptation of the anime adaptation, I'm sorry, of the video game The World Ends With You, and we covered it on the channel, Square Enix A1 Pictures are doing a anime adaptation of Nier Automata. Now, have you played Nier Automata, Jamie?
I've played a little bit of it, but unfortunately, I have not played the full game. So this is like, it's a weird cross between some familiarity and like discovering a whole new thing. It's
Yeah.
kind of exciting.
I mean, to your defense, I haven't either. It's like this game has as many endings as the English alphabet. So even though
Does
some of
oh,
them
so you're
are
trying to
good
say,
endings,
so what you're trying to say is that you've played it, but because it has so many endings, you really haven't finished it.
it depends on how you look at it. Yes,
Have you played it, Isaac?
I have played it, but I just
Okay,
haven't finished every ending.
okay, okay. I just want to make sure because it sounded like you didn't play it, so I wasn't sure. So I've played the demo, which the demo is technically the entire first level because I believe
Mhm.
this game is somewhat based, it's level based somewhat. Um,
Somewhat.
I did pick up Nier Automata for PS4, and it's funny because there was this one day that I started looking at prices for the game, and around that same day, I'm like tidying up in the house, and I found that I have it.
Oh.
That's how bad it is. Like I know I have it, but I haven't even touched it. But that's probably the next thing I'm gonna do because I just finished. I just finished my first run. I think it's my sixth run of the game, but my first run on the remake version of The Last of Us Part One. I just finished my first run, and I really loved it. Again, the remake is phenomenal. But I think I'm gonna jump into Nier Automata while the show plays, so I can get more information because it's very interesting. But yeah, like anime adaptations of video game properties are not. It's not that they're scarce, but they're few and far between, especially those that appear to be of some good quality, right? And one of the things that we talked about when we talked about The World Ends With You is that that was a very very good adaptation, and the animation for it was very fitting to the world that they were depicting from the game. Now with Nier Automata, that's why I wanted to see if you guys have played it because I think especially with the way this episode goes, which episode one is or not to be, which is a very particular way of writing the episode and a particular way of you know of talking about what happens in the episode, right?
Mhm.
But for those that have played the game, the first episode is the first level of the game,
Yeah, it's
which is
by
very
the looks of it,
particular
it's
and creative. Yeah.
I can add on that by the looks of it, it looks like they are going to, at least based on this first episode, going to mix the A route and the B route because in the B route you get, for example, you see the scene where the machine is pouring down what looks like gasoline or something to the destroyed machine.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
is specifically in the B route where you play as 9S kind of deal.
So the first thing, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Isaac, because the first thing that I find very peculiar about this anime adaptation, before we jump into the episode per se, is the ending of the episode, right? Because the credits occur while the episode's still going. I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys noticed that.
Yeah, I
Um,
noticed.
the credits are rolling when they're showing the space station, and 2B is having that internal monologue, right?
Mhm.
But then the post credit is literally we got to assume it's one of the creators or showrunners of the show breaking the fourth wall and saying, "Hey guys." Literally, so as you guys know, the Nier Automata game has multiple endings. But don't worry,
Mhm.
as the show goes out, we're gonna be remaking these multiple endings in different fashions, and then it goes into puppetry and shows a 2B puppet and a 9S puppet, and they're explaining things. Now, in my understanding, are we led to believe that that scene is one of the endings of the game?
I haven't seen everyone, so I can't say that per se. But I know that you. What's his name again?
9S.
Give me- No. I'm talking about the creator of
Oh,
Nier.
Yoko Taro.
Yoko Taro. He is a bit of a troll, and is involved with this. He has involvement with this anime adaptation, so I wouldn't be so shocked if he. It's his idea to do the whole goofy stuff with the dolls at the end of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but what I yeah, and I like the dimension that it adds to the actual show because it's looking at anime watchers that are gamers in the face and telling them like, "Hey, you know there's multiple endings to this. We're not trying to tell you that one ending is better than the other. But we're letting you know that we acknowledge this from the get-go. We're going to show you the multiple endings. And I think we're going to be led to believe that the ending of this season or the ending of this show is simply going to be the one that they decided to portray. Which I find it very daring and very bold. Like from the get-go. Like this is the type of reveal. Like if you I don't know if you guys have seen She-Hulk. Have you guys seen
Mm-hmm.
She-Hulk?
Yep.
Like this is the kind of thing that you wait for the season finale of She-Hulk when she goes to meet Kevin. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't expect this in the first episode. Yes, Argwinder. Yes. 2B and 9S's puppets. The new Muppet. It is very bold. Yes. Yes, it is. Oh,
I love it.
Argwinder. What do you think about the boldness of doing that from the get-go? Were you guys surprised by that? I was.
I think it's honestly like a pretty genius way to go about this, especially because, um, everybody's going to have a different like favorite ending. So
Yeah.
not only just like having these endings put on display in what I believe are going to be future episodes. I think this time they were just goofing around. But to have these endings being displayed at the end in I don't know how they're going to go about it without possibly doing spoiler stuff, but to discuss those while also making the main story for this season be a combination of those two endings, I think was really great just because if you played the games, then there will still be something technically new for you to see since you have not seen a
Yes.
combination of the two.
Yeah.
And for people who are not familiar, you'll get to see like two different plots kind of like weave together which will I know it's definitely inspired me to pick up the game again and try and get through it and pick up some of these details um, and just like have the ability to explore like oh like this ending was great and there are more like let me see what these other options are so I
Yeah.
definitely think they did a great job of like not trying to bore their audience and give them something new but also pleasing their current audience as well.
Yeah. Isaac.
One thing I have to mention, which is something I usually don't do, but it's the fact that they are using the music from the game, and I'm just
Yes.
L
Yes.
to the yes
Yes.
because
Yes.
this music, the music for Nier is some of the best video game soundtracks of all time, and no, that's
Yes.
not.
Very iconic.
Espe- Especially a specific song that I'm not going to mention here because Brandon hasn't played the game, but you know X. I think you
Yet.
know X. You haven't played it yet, but Jamie know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that song. If you don't
Hmm.
have that song your anime adaptation, especially if you cover that segment, then you're doing some very dumb decisions because that song is arguably the most iconic of the entire soundtrack.
I
Hey
think they'll
man.
pull through. I think they got
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
it.
I was very surprised. I'm glad you mentioned music because like I said, I've only played the demo. I've only played that level and I could recognize that that's the music of Nier.
Hmm.
And I was blown away by how well it fits into everything that we see. I love how instantly I was taken to the game. I love the nice balance between CG and animation.
Yes.
And the action. I love that they literally animated specific scenes, like that scene of her standing and putting and swishing the blade in the middle of the air to the right. Like that particular scene, I'm gonna try and look it up, but there's a particular scene. I think Isaac, you put it on the chatter after as a GIF. So that particular scene of
The shatter after, you mean the amateur otaku?
I don't know anything about life,
Yes,
but
we know that by now.
yes. So, but that particular picture was just great. I love the fact that I love that they're acknowledging where it comes from, and they're not beating around the bush about it. I think that's what I'm enjoying about it the most, because now I can just focus. Because you know how when you go into something that you know is an adaptation of something that you know, right? A lot of times, sadly, the first thing that occurs is that you start thinking, okay, is it going to be as good as? You know what I mean? Like a lot of times that's like the obligatory first thing that you ask yourself, and like you can't even help it. It's just a normal thing, right? So I do like the idea that as soon as we see this, as soon as we see it, we find we get all those references out of the way from the get-go. We're pleased to see them. So now we can focus on the conversations. We can focus on the interactions. Because a lot of the texting or the dialogue is not as prevalent in the game while you're playing and hacking and slashing, because it is a platinum game. So it is a hack and slash video game. That's like the main action of the game. Apart from the Resogun sections where, oh, by the way, the fact that the actual projectile bullets looked exactly the same as the game also blew me away. Did you guys notice that? Like the little red balls from the aerial enemies?
Yeah.
And the way they move, like everything literally feels exactly like the game. I was very surprised by that.
Yep, the trauma that I felt fighting the freaking giant saws, I felt that watching the show as well.
Damn. I'm
Really? You want me to spit out my tea like that?
the end is near. Wow. Mike drops into the chat with the pun of all puns. All I have to say, Mike, is I'm disgusted and proud at the same time.
I expect nothing less.
So this is the pose. Like we literally get this in the anime. And I went like, wow, they're paying attention to everything.
Yep.
And I'm really happy about it. I'm really, really happy about it.
This could be the year of video game adaptations, with this
Say it.
and the Mario movie, and
Say it.
it could be the year we finally get it right.
Say it for the ones in the back. Say it for the people in the back.
I mean, we have already had Castlevania. We have Arcane.
Castlevania was
Sonic.
excellent. It's like
we have Detective Pikachu. We have Sonic.
You're
I
right.
think it's so silly to say that the video game curse hasn't been fixed by now.
It's not that they haven't been good. It's like, we get a Sonic, then we get the freaking Halo show, and then we get something else, and it's like, I want there to be more consistency, at least as far as being faithful to the material. That's
Right.
where my main concern is. Like, I'm not saying, even though the Halo show was like pretty much not Halo, I didn't think it was a bad show. It just wasn't Halo. Similar to how some people feel about Cowboy Bebop. It wasn't necessarily a bad show. It just, the live action adaptation wasn't really Cowboy Bebop. So
I like
just
you,
want
Jamie.
that consistency.
You speak truth.
I just want the consistency.
Yes.
That's my issue.
But I'm glad that you say that, because one of the things, a term that is often thrown out there in art, is the idea of a renaissance. right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need a renaissance in video game adaptations because we never really had a good one. Like we never had a good stretch of good ones.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoyed the 90s ones when they came out because that's all we had. But so many different adaptations have shown us that a lot better is possible. And I know that I don't want to
Right.
say Marvel, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe has literally showed the world, whether you like it or not, it has shown the world that you can adapt properties like these in a way that's meaningful for the major audience. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's the biggest lesson that they've proven time and time again with almost every adaptation that they've had. And like it's funny enough because the Marvel movies that don't make money are the ones that upset fans, not necessarily people that love Marvel.
Right.
Which is again, it goes to show that they've made it very appealing. So I agree with you, Jamie, because we do want a consistency, and I think also to Isaac's point, because Isaac does have a point. I would say in the last I don't want to say decade. I'm going to say in the last 5 years, we've gotten a very healthy string of good adaptations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we just want that to keep on going. And I know that the reason you're screaming to the people in the back, Jamie, it's not just because of Nier, but also because of The Last of Us.
Right.
Because that I think that one, how that one plays out, how that particular video game imitation captures the imagination of people, big and small, that's really what's going to be that barometer. Does that make
Right.
sense? Of okay, we have to edge out a genre. We have to change the way we're doing things because there we have HBO showing us what's possible. So hopefully that's how we we get there.
Yeah.
Now,
And I mean, just to quickly follow that up, like we have The Last of Us coming up this Sunday, and then they are like working on, or at least are in the like pre-production phases of creating that God of War show, of creating like a Horizon Forbidden West show.
yeah,
So these things are definitely coming, but depending on the success of The Last of Us live action show, we could easily see these big Hollywood producers, or like, you know, people who are handling the money and deciding to fund these projects, decide, okay, you know what, like video game adaptations are doing pretty low, let's go for something more niche so we can really like target this specific audience. And maybe we'll get like, I have no idea, you can name a whole number of different franchises, and get something that's like not just like mainstream, but like video games that are a little bit more niche, like Near Automata, and have it be created to such of a like great degree of detail like Nier has been so far, that will be really enjoyable for not just the gaming audience but general audiences as well.
I know
yeah.
that what's the car simulator game that's on PlayStation?
What
Gran
was that?
Turismo.
Gran Turismo has gotten its first
Turismo.
trailer for a week ago or so. I know.
That's right, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that one's coming too. We got a lot.
Yeah, so it's just about so hopefully, in Near Automata, Argwinder says in the chat, the age of video game movies actually getting decent directors and writers has begun.
Yes.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, I do want to say, in the case of Nier Automata, I think because of the failures of many adaptations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that may be why they made the decision to mention the multiple ending shtick up front, so people know that they're taking a very specific direction with this. And also,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're screaming that in the name of the show, because the name of the show is not Nier Automata. The name of the show is Nier Automata version 1.1a, which, in my understanding, alludes to one of the endings or to one of the routes the story can go.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I even wonder now, Are we just gonna see version 1.1a for the entirety of the season? Maybe or do we get a change of version as the season progresses? Or do we get multiple seasons, each being a different version? So
That's an interesting question.
yeah, so I like how they're being ridiculously specific, not only to not necessarily to inform the anime audiences of what they're watching, but to address the gamer audience. You know, so I find it very interesting and very particular. So I don't know. I'm liking all those things, and all this conversation about adaptation I think has been amazing.
Yeah.
So we talked about the music, the animation.
It's
It's
a mixed
good.
bag.
It's good.
I say mixed bag because you can, I can. Well, the 3D animation isn't Berserker 2016 or
Yeesh.
X Arms.
Oh, XR makes a comeback.
It reminds me to show you to the trailer after the recording.
Please don't.
But I will. You can't escape that. But I digress. But then again, I do want. It looks okay. It looks good enough for what to use the CGI for. It's not like it's
Right.
just a simple character models. It's a lot. They are using it for advanced movement of ships. They are
Right.
so they do that when they have so many robots attacking them at the same time. I don't even think Mappa would have been able to do those in their perfect animation style with that much on screen and all that advanced stuff going on. So the CGI, it works. It doesn't look horrible. The the 2D figures, like 2B and everything else, I think that looks extremely well. It certainly looks a lot better than the Persona 5 adaptation. That's for certain.
Well, you see, I'm going to jump in here and say this. The problem with the Persona 5 adaptation wasn't the animation. It was it
In
was
certain aspect,
it was
but
it was
no,
mostly
it
the
wasn't
direction and the
main.
pacing.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, like the scripts were not great.
And
To not say that they were not good, they were not great.
we need to cover that one now. Now that I mentioned it, haven't don't we?
Yes, I think we do.
Uh,
And now that I have the manga, we probably need to cover at some point too. Now, I think the thing with the animation, I get what you're saying with the mixed bag. And Jamie, you're an artist yourself, so I do want to hear your take.
Were you want me to go now?
I'm gonna say something real quick, and I want to give you the floor.
Okay.
The thing with the animation that I'm not gonna say, it's not that I didn't like it, because it has nothing to do with me liking it or not. Is that I think that we've been spoiled for a complete season of anime with out of this world premium animation from Mappa, UFO Table, and Bones, that this feels lacking. It doesn't feel like something that came out in 2023. It feels slightly outdated, but it still looks beautiful, and it's still very enjoyable. I kind of expected it to be a bit more closer to the level of, because one of the things, for example, that these studios have done with the inclusion of digital artwork is that they use it to create the scene and play with the lighting. And my eyes have become very accustomed to that type of beauty and range in animation in anime in the last year. That now that then now that I see this and I don't see it, like now to be respectful though, it is all very, it is exceptionally well drawn, but
Mm-hmm.
I still felt that maybe I'm just ungrateful. Go, Jamie.
Why? There definitely have been some moments within this first episode where I was like, oh, okay, like, it's a little wonky, a little CG there. As far as the 2D animation goes, I don't think anything like immediately sticks out to me, or at least sticks out in my mind as like, oh wow, that looks a little bit um like off or outdated. I think that what they're doing is at least good enough to where it does not distract me from the story that they're trying to tell, which is like the most
Fair.
important thing for me. So I'm perfectly fine with what they're doing. If they decide to step it up, I there will be no complaints. But I definitely think that as far as the action is concerned, with some specific sequences, like just before I think like the chainsaw comes out, you see 2B fighting the robots. I thought that looked really good, and we saw like the GIF moment as you were talking about, that was like really clean, and they really like nailed that, and was definitely a reference to Near Automata,
Yeah.
as far as like transferring it from 3D to 2D. So I have no real issues with the animation so far, to be honest with you. And I think they're trying lots of different things, so it might take a moment for them to find their pacing. Like they even had like freaking puppets in here, man. So they're really they're going out there, and you're not going to hit every ball that you swing at, but if you swing hard, you're gonna have a lot of home runs. So
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that.
So I'm glad I'm glad you mentioned that, and because I think, like I said, I think I was so wowed with everything that came out in the previous season that part of me wanted to be wowed.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think maybe I just set up myself for that disappointment, because you're right, the animation works and it's pretty damn great. And Arcwinder in the chat mentioned something that's true, and you mentioned it too, Jamie. That the CGI, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what we've seen other people do.
Hmm.
And trust me, I've seen shows that literally reuse bad CGI for whatever reason. So, Arcwinder says in the chat, honestly, Nier and Chainsaw Man have a better use of CGI than more anime that use it. To be honest, I hardly notice it when I watch the shows. Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, the action is solid. The animation is solid. I was very surprised how they literally went pen by numbers on that first level, because you
Hmm.
rarely see adaptations do that, which I think which is why I also found it very surprising, right? Because most adaptations try to go out of their way so that you know that it's not that is so that you stop thinking about it as an adaptation.
Hmm.
This one went out of their way to make sure that you knew that it was,
Yeah.
especially with the ending with the puppets, right? Um, as characters, what are your thoughts? What are you guys' thoughts on 2B? Because definitely 2B is being presented as the protagonist, which she is mainly the protagonist of the game. I know there's other characters that you play as, but I know that she's front and center. And at least of the story that we're going to start following, I would assume, they place her as the protagonist. Um, what are your guys' thoughts of this character?
I really like her a lot. I with my short time with Tubi, I really like grew to like her, and like she was very quick to warm up to 9S, both in the game and in the anime. So it was cool to see like a little, I guess, a chink in her armor, and we see a little bit of humanity kind of like break out of that android shell. It was also cool to see a 9S being kind of like this giddy, like I
Yeah.
guess it almost feels like, that spy scenario where it's like the guy that's always chained to the desk. He finally gets to go out
Yes.
into the field and have some
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
And in some ways he does have that fun, and he's like, oh man, like this is great. Like I finally get to connect with another person. But he also gets to realize like the dangers of what it is to go out on the field and see that
Yes.
sometimes the trade-offs might not exactly be worth it.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see both of them kind of like build that relationship, and then ultimately like it ends up being reset, I guess, by the end of the episode, because he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't remember any of that, but I look forward to working with you in the future. She's like, oh, all right, cool.
So, before I jump into that, Isaac, your thoughts?
About the character of 2B and 9S, or specifically 2B?
No, but you can talk about both characters, just like Jamie did. Yeah.
I mean, it's. I think, without going into the whole spoiler thing, I think they were really solid in keeping the whole. How should I put it? Introduce their upcoming dynamic throughout the show, and making it so that he is making it, having 9S being the more, oh, I want to explore, I want to know more, whereas 2B is the honorable and know as you want to do the job properly, soldier that have something that she has to hide for reasons she can't talk about, kind of deal.
Yeah. Like she's trying to hide her whole thing. She's like, I like how she's trying to act tough and mission oriented and not get attached. It says a lot about her character, especially with the inner monologue that you see at the beginning. Arkwinder says in the chat, I'm betting Isaac mentions 2B's thighs. Oh my god. Actually, it was you, Arkwinder. You mentioned it. And he's mentioning about the animation. Arkwinder says, personally, I think they're just settling OG fans in before they do some crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
It's, when it comes to the show, I just feel that, how should I put it? I think it's just the whole scene where she says, "Only 2B is enough. You don't have to call me Miss." Is just a big enough of a hint that there is something more that meets the eye there than
Well,
with them, and especially when she also runs to meet to find him after at the end of the episode,
right.
and also going back to the whole thing. Yes, I have played this before, but I think their whole sacrifice with a black box that you used to take out that big threat. The what are you calling again?
The Goliath class weapon.
Thank you. Them.
We're gonna use you for all the announcements now, Jamie. That was perfect. The Goliath class weapon. That was awesome.
Full Metal Alchemist.
In fact, the whole scene of them sacrificing, quote unquote, sacrificing themselves, or should I say, sacrificing their bodies, considering their minds are uploaded into the net, kind of deal. It's a touching scene, and you can feel the camaraderie, even though you haven't been with them for that long of a time.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those stories that, first off, you really don't have a lot of dialogue. All you have is like mission log stuff. And like whenever 9S tries to have dialogue, like in a way, 2B is always shutting him down. But in the little interaction but the constant interaction, little bits here and there, a little bits here and there is a lot of humanity and sense of want from these characters that I think is what draws you in, right? But when it comes to 2B's character, that I find so fascinating is it's the immortality problem, which I find so interesting. Which is, for example, a lot of people dream of a world where they will never die until they figure out that they have to feel everything that one feels when they live. So you have to live with loss forever. You have to live with, you know what I mean? Like there's no end to the loss and pain that you're going to feel because you've decided to live forever, right? Or the opposite, like in God of War. Spoilers for God of War 2018. But if you're one of the millions of people that have played it and played Ragnarok, it's not a spoiler. Like the whole thing with Baldur, where he's desperate to feel something, and then at the end of the day, the last thing he feels is what kills him. You know, like so I find it interesting that because she's an android, because her information can be saved and rebooted in a new body, she has been dying in unlimited number of ways, in unlimited number of times, but she's still feeling the loss and pain of every single time she's been rebooted, which I find that to be a very tragic presentation for a character. Because by the end of the episode, we don't know how many times he's gone through this. And I love how that idea informs her not trying to connect with 9S in a way. You know what I mean? Like keep unnecessary conversations from happening and stuff like that. But then of course, as they find themselves in the heat of the battle, it's there. But then you find out, because that's kind of what the ending of the episode alludes to, right? Is that it looks like they both have died multiple times, but she always remembers when they've both died. He never does. Because if you remember, I watched the episode twice to make sure that I got us most out of it. 9S only uploaded her info. He never uploaded his. Which is why she's like suffering, and that's when she's running. She's like, all I want is his happiness. And then you're led to the idea of, okay, these androids are fighting for humanity, but there's no humans. I don't know. It's super weird, super interesting, and I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I also watched it for this. Well, I watched it for the second time today, just because there are definitely things that I did not pick up on the first viewing, and just like the whole story about like these machines, kind of like, I guess, carrying on where humans left off without, their presence, I guess, to tell them what to do next. And even there's a scene where 2B talks, or I think 9S talks about machines that are continuing to do the tasks that they were given when they were first made, even though it's pointless to do it and like nobody's benefiting from it.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear about these things, and interesting to see that we'll be like exploring more of this, and like what the where these Goliath class weapons are coming from. Why is that a thing? Are the robots and then the robots that are just standing around? They've created a lot of like interesting places for us to go this season. And I'm like kind of scared. I'm like, do we have enough episodes to go through this, or is this just like guaranteed season 2? I don't know.
But also what I like about it is because the Nier property itself has always been known for its deep conversation and in challenging intellectual conversations, right? And one of the things that I find interesting is that because the game is designed for replayability, certain things are not revealed until you replay. Certain things are not revealed. Some important information is not revealed until you replay it. So again, that's a space for new seasons, but also I wonder what the twist is going to be, because if you go back to that one scene of the little robot with the bucket of oil walking to the robot that's broken, and he throws oil on it, that's literally alluding to the idea that these machines are developing, even though they look antiquated and they look like machines, because that's also the weird twist of it, right? Like we are told that 9S and 2B are androids, but they look human, right? And then you have all these little machines that literally look like little robots, but they're all in a way, what's the word I'm looking for? They're expressing evidence of human emotion, or things that, or they're doing things that humans would do. Like when they talk about the Goliath machine, the Goliath, like the one thing that 2B says is, what's going on? He is speaking words. He's thinking, like it's thinking from itself, you know? So it's like, and so I know I wonder if there's going to be a twist there, like the original Nier game. Did any of you guys ever play the original Nier?
I have not actually. I played a bit of the app. I think it's Near Replicant.
No, Replicant was I think Nier Replicant is the re-released version of the first one.
I still got it on my iPad. Let me see.
I think it's Nier
Nier Reincarnation.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
what it is.
So the whole thing about Nier that's very interesting, with the whole thing about replayability also, is that in the original Nier, you're in this world with magic and stuff like that, and I think you're trying to save someone that you love, and you're fighting all these monsters or spirits of darkness, right? When you replay the game and you're fighting these spirits of darkness, they're actually human souls that are protecting something. So now who's the bad guy? It's really, I think it's something like that. I haven't played the game, but I've seen so many videos that talk about it, and I find it super interesting. I wonder if there's going to be some type of twist here, because it's meant to be that twisty the thinkers game. You know what I mean? Which I find super interesting. Again, it's a hack and slash, but still, it has all these layers. That I don't know. Just like you said, Jamie, they've set up so much for them to go to any direction, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I don't know. I think we've done the thing, guys. Isaac, do you have anything else on Nier Automata? Arkwinder says in the chat, seeing how humans are gone and no one can really control the bots, it makes sense they would exchange. It makes sense they would eventually develop some intelligence. Yep. Isaac, anything else on Nier Automata?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Jamie?
No, I think that's it. I really enjoyed the first episode. Can't wait to see the next one.
Guys, we've done the thing. We've talked Nier Automata. If you love what we do here in the Amateur Otaku channel, make sure you click on that like button, click on that bell for notifications, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any episodes, any coverages on Nier Automata, My Hero Academia, Trigun Stampede. Let us know if you want us to keep covering Stampede, because we have a bunch of other shows that we want to cover. One of them is Vinland Saga, which season 2 just dropped, or is going to drop very soon.
Yep,
It's
season
final.
2 dropped. Or the
Yes.
first episode did.
Yeah, and the best thing about
January
it is
9th.
it's on Netflix. So it's going to be available for pretty much everybody, not like in the past that it was just on Amazon Prime and it got lost there for some reason. So I'm really excited to be talking about that show. Let us know if there's any other shows during this season, winter season, that you guys want us to cover. And if we have the spot, we'll definitely cover it and let you know. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. If you want to listen to us on the go, you can always go to the podcast channel. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever podcasts are found. You can find the Amateur Otaku and this awesome coverage. Isaac, if people wanted to find you, where can they find you?
Written work, Wobam Entertainment, Twitter, Emblemaniac.
Jamie, where can people find you and your stuff?
You guys can find me here on YouTube at swiper-art, and at swiper_prime for all gaming related stuff, and that works on Twitch as well.
And you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter, and you can find me on the Chatter After podcast, talking movies, books, games, whatever other medium that we want to cover. The Last of Us, which we mentioned here, HBO's The Last of Us, is an awesome show that's debuted on HBO, and we have created a special series on The Last of Us on the Chatter After podcast. It's called Beyond the Clickers, and we are doing it live every Tuesday, and we're covering every single episode of The Last of Us. So come join us as we seek the chatter beyond the clickers. You can find us there, you can find me there, and you can find the pod on Twitter at the Amateur Otaku Pod. Join us. Let's talk anime. Let's talk manga. And let's spoil ourselves of everything awesome that's out there. We will see you next time, guys. Have it awesome. Stay awesome. Peace.
Peace.